Hello, this is Glenn Hall Taylor back once again to present two more new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. As producer-director of the Sherlock Holmes radio series, I worked closely with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. I'd like to tell you some of the things that happened during those golden days of radio. I was working for the Young and Rubicam agency, advertising agency at that time, and Petri Wine was our sponsor. I do not remember whether it was our organization that sold it to Petri or whether it was the William Morris office that sold it to Petri. But at any rate, the package came to us complete with Nigel Bruce, Basil Rathbone, Denis Green, and Anthony Boucher. And Y&R assigned me to direct the show. I was then doing the Burns and Allen show with Paul Whiteman, and they took me off of that to put me on the Sherlock Holmes show. I was a sort of a buff of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and of course I enjoyed the Universal films that Basil and Nigel Bruce were doing. One amusing thing was that Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce did not have time to stop for lunch after they left the Universal studio and come over and rehearse with us. So invariably, these two British gentlemen arrived with cartons of milk and breakfast or Danish or things that we call snails and they call sugar buns. And they would arrive with these and proceed to have their lunch on the table during our first script reading. And it was a fairly messy lunch because they would put the cigarettes in the ashtrays and then pour milk on them to put them out. I remember there was one problem we had every week was that Nigel Bruce and Basil Rathbone thought it was very funny to hurl the unfinished sugar buns at the control room window, and out of reflex every week for months I would duck as they splattered against the glass, and then they'd have to call the crew out to clean the glass off the control room window before the audience came in because it was such a mess. And now, Basil Rathbone as Sherlock Holmes and Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson in The Night Before Christmas.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?